It's not Mercury retrograde, but boy, does it feel like it. I spent 10 minutes telling a very vulnerable story on here for it to have no fucking sound. So let me try to recap that story because it had a nice little meaning. I hope you can stick around because I'm doing it twice, so hopefully the second time is better. I ain't doing it a third time. I was telling a story that I only remember part of the memory because of memory loss and because when I had amnesia, and two, I've learned how to suppress terrible memories. But the importance of this memory has actually helped shape me to who I am today. My dad and his sister would never get along. I remember being at my grandmother's house and a big fight blew up, and this is just normal. But this time, feelings really got escalated to the point that my aunt is crying, running out of the house, and my father is literally chasing her down out of the house. She crosses the street, about to get in her car. Everybody in my grandmother's house is outside at this point. All the neighbors are outside looking to see what's going on. There's so much screaming, so much crying going on. Nobody knows what's really being said. Every time I recall this memory, I feel the same pain. But it helps remind me. My very frail grandfather, in the midst of this conversation, his voice so low and frail, just starts crying, no, 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 why can't we get along? There was no way that anybody could have heard this. I think it's because everybody felt it. He was so hurt by what was going on. And now the whole world is experiencing it with us. My aunt gets in the car. She leaves. Eventually, I believe my dad leaves. A few days later, everyone's back at the house. We're trying to make amends and apologize, or they are trying to heal the situation, right? And I remember my grandmother making a statement and then looking me dead in the eyes and made me promise to never abandon my family, to never block them or run away or avoid a conversation, because she knew what was going on. She just didn't know how to explain it. My aunt was anxiously attached and she was at her wit's end. And guessing my dad was the avoiding those feelings that she was trying to process with him. The two of them had a very emotional talk. Avoidance, when you give them their space, they do come back to have that vulnerable talk. But you can't keep pushing them. So the two of them talk. And basically it comes down to the fact that she is much older than him. And as a child, he felt like she had abandoned him when she had gotten married and moved out of the house. Now, my dad has always associated me and my aunt as the same person for whatever reason. So that's that fear that he's always had with his sister. He has with me. And that's the reason why he does what he does to me. He's afraid I'm going to abandon him. Not the fact that I'm an adult and I'm trying to have my own life. So I've allowed it as a form of regulating his emotions. I am not my aunt. I'm not abandoning anybody. I am simply an adult choosing myself. And he does not seem to still understand that. Sometimes we have to have conversations with people, especially when they're family, when there's somebody that we love, romantically, platonically, family. If you love a person, sometimes you have to force yourself to have those vulnerable, uncomfortable conversations to see what the real root was. Because what we are assuming is going on is usually not what's going on. What happens when you don't have those conversations, people start filling in the blanks in their heads. And sometimes it's the most wild, off-the-wall things that we rationalize and we normalize. And then when we really get to the root of it, it usually has nothing to do with us, and yet we're assuming it is completely about us. We assume that the other person is doing something to us on purpose, and that's pretty much never actually the case. I agree, there are certain scenarios when you have no choice but to block a person when they are not being reasonable. But if somebody is willing to have a conversation, have that conversation no matter how uncomfortable that thing is. I don't want to have half the conversations I have, but I know I need to because I'm not purposely going to cause harm to another person. But I also realized something recently that I unintentionally help regulate people's emotions, and that's not on me to do. So when I started taking that step back, that hurt a lot of people. When you choose yourself, that doesn't mean you can't still show up for other people. That does not mean that you just stop caring about people. That doesn't mean you block everybody and just it's all for you now. That means setting healthy boundaries with people. Understanding that you can still co-regulate, support, and love each other and not try to regulate somebody else's emotions for them. Help learn those lessons for them. You can give them guidance if they ask for it, but then you have to also understand that it's up to you to take that step back and let them process that. When you can step into a secure attachment style, sometimes the biggest gesture of love might look like abandonment to a person. When you see someone dysregulated, they're struggling, and you've tried to give them guidance and they're still struggling and they're starting to push you away, you have to take a step back for you. Regulate yourself. Let them approach you when they're ready. Now remember, when they approach you, it could be one or two things. They might start accusing you of abandoning them, and that might look like completely different forms from person to person, where they're accusing you of things and you're going, I don't know what you're talking about. Or they might actually start becoming self-aware and try to apologize. But most people don't just directly come out and say, fuck, I fucked up. I am so sorry. Let's try to redo this. Most people will just be like, hey, how you doing? Oh, did you get this? And do small talk. This is part of the reason why I freaking hate small talk, because we use small talk as an excuse to an apology that needed to be happening. No, I don't think apologies needed in every scenario. You're human. You don't need to actually say, I'm sorry. But there are some scenarios where an apology is most definitely needed. But like the word love, people misuse the word sorry. Sorry is an acknowledgement that you made a mistake, promising not to do that mistake again because you value that connection with that person more. We're all human trying to have a human experience, and we need to normalize not pushing everybody away when we choose ourselves. Choosing you and then pushing someone away is not the healthiest way of doing it. Now, granted, there are scenarios, I will give you that, where you have to. But most of the time when you think you have to have a conversation. Is what you have to do. Stop filling in the blanks. Stop assuming things. We are all processing our own traumas at our own rate. I've been picking up on a lot of patterns from so many different people right now that it's becoming so overwhelming to me. And I'm sitting still where I'm at. My trauma response keeps saying, block them, get them out of your lives. They're doing this, this, and that. And then, my higher self, my healed self is going, you don't know that. You don't have any facts to that. Where's the facts? Where's your evidence? Where's those black and whites? That's why we always talk about black and whites. We don't always get the other person's side of the story. We just want to believe yours, where you probably filled in the blanks to something. You're not a villain. You have trauma. Admitting that you are the problem is not easy. But remember, you're not alone. There are people who can help support you, but not regulate for you. And I'm always available for people. If I'm dysregulated myself and I can't show up, I will let you know. But don't assume I don't care. If I didn't care, I would have just blocked. And I would have disappeared.